Hey everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
And we are here today because this is the last day we're going to get any hot D for a couple of years. No more hot D for a while. Today was the finale
Sad day.
for House of the Dragon, and their HBO has taken away our hot D because we've had enough for a while. They've decided I'm going to run this joke.
We had 10 weeks of hot D.
I know, 10 weeks of hot D. It went by so quick, but it was oh so satisfying. I'm going to just drag this joke.
Longer than some people's relationships.
It's true. But you know what? It was satisfying, and it was thrilling, and it was something new in my life I didn't know I needed until I had it. And now I can't get it. So it's so fun. It's so fun. I don't care. Man, I mean, what can be said about this that hasn't already been said a million times on Twitter in just the last 24 hours? I mean, what an ending to a season, and the fact that they have the audacity to make me wait 2 years for more, frankly, is rude and borderline disrespectful. Sol, how'd you feel about this finale?
I loved it. It was so good. And I was a little surprised where they ended, because as a book reader, I thought they were going to end a little bit further from where they ended. Because for me, I was thinking, oh, they're going to end the season and you're going to firmly be like, I don't know who to root for because both teams are bad. And they're like, nah, we're going to be firmly Team Black by the end of this season. Everyone's going to be like, they're better than the Greens, which, I mean, I'm fine with that because I'm Team Black. But it's going to be very interesting to see people see probably the first episode of next season.
Yeah, because
stuff happens.
you and Vander for a while have been teasing something coming that, according to you guys, we didn't get this episode. I don't know what you're referring to because I haven't read the books, but regardless, this finale was
phenomenal.
What a finale. What a finale.
And I kind of liked that they ended it where they did. Now, like, after thinking about it for a while, because I was like, that's interesting that they ended it in a way that makes you so firmly with Team Black. And then I'll go, actually, no, that was very smart. It was very smart of them, because it's going to make the shock of the first episode next season be that much bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, because I was to a point where, because the duration on the time I watch this on HBO Max the day after. I don't watch it the day of, so it always shows that the episode is like an hour and 20 minutes long. But I always forget that the last 10 or 15 of that is behind the scenes and previews for next week and an ad for the podcast. So I was like, oh man, I still got 30 minutes left in this. Wait, no, that's misleading. But they even at like right at an hour, they put so much into this, and it never felt rushed, never felt forced, it never felt like the pacing was off. And much like we predicted, last week was all about the Greens. This week was all about the Blacks.
Yeah.
And boy, howdy, did we get some introspective into how things are going over a Dragonstone.
Yeah. And Vander and I were both like, oh, it's going to be mostly the Blacks, but we're going to get a little bit of Greens, which you do get a little bit of green, but we're like, it's minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
Where like we thought we were going to get a little bit more. So it was just like, yeah, no, you got a green episode, now a black episode, which, I mean, is fitting because look at the name of the titles. You got the Green Council, you got the Black Queen.
Yeah. If that's not telling, I don't know what is. I think this was simultaneously both Matt Smith's and Emma Darcy's best episodes of the season. Emma Darcy, who plays adult Rhaenyra, Matt Smith, who has aged phenomenal as Daemon, almost as good as Sir Kristen, who has not aged a day in
Sir Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, so yeah, who has, for Sir Bitch-a-Lot, who for the 20 years this show encompasses hasn't aged a day.
Hatred makes you look that good, people.
Apparently. Apparently, not only does it save you from lightsaber wounds, it also makes you look good. Um, it's interesting because I think the two of them were so good in this episode. Emma Darcy in particular, but man, like Matt Smith's had a foul mouth in this whole series.
Mhm.
He was pulling out insults he'd been saving for 20 years out of his back pocket. Like, I've been practicing this in the mirror for the day I got to say it to you, Otto Hightower. He was just dropping bombs the whole episode.
I
I
mean,
loved it.
he did that before too. Like he hadn't seen Otto Hightower in forever, and then at the funeral of his first wife, Lena Valarian, like he insults Otto Hightower. That he always has something in the back of his mind to say to Otto. He's like, I need to be ready for whenever I see this man.
Oh yeah. And this week, just take that back to your your drunk usurping cunt of a king. I was just like, oh, you got son. Well, I'll give them she wants your response by within 48, the next 2 days. Oh, she'll get it tomorrow morning along with her father, and it's stuffed in her father's mouth along with his withered old cock. I'm just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It was because you got to see Damon be more of that, like, because he's a very great character, and you got to see him be a little bit more bad in this episode.
Yeah.
And kind of in the sense of where we've always said that Damon never wanted to be king, but doesn't mean that he doesn't like the power of being around the people who are king and or queen. Like, and so his wife is now the most important person in the realm. And so he's like, I'm untouchable. I can say what I want. Like, yeah, like and to that, he's even is that way with Rhaenyra.
Yeah, because he sees her, she's his route to power. But for a moment, she is considering Alicent's offer. And in that moment, Damon realizes if she concedes this offer, I lose all my power. So I'm not going to let anyone stand in the way of me getting power, not even the person who's giving me the power.
And the person that I love.
Yeah. But like, I'm not going to, no, like I have worked too long and too hard to get where I'm at. And you see moments of that too, when they're starting after Rhaenys shows up and gives them the warning, he starts overstepping a lot.
Yeah.
And you,
but you kind of too in that moment, even though, and we're talking about the choke out here for those who watch.
In case that wasn't clear.
In case that wasn't clear. Rhaenyra kind of comes out a little bit more powerful at the end of that, in the sense of she was the one who was told the prophecy. Mm-hmm. Daemon wasn't. At one time, Daemon was the heir. So her whole life, she assumed he knew the prophecy because he was an heir. Mm-hmm. And her whole life, she views Daemon as an equal and sometimes as greater than her. And in that one moment, she's like, no, he doesn't know. He doesn't know the importance of this prophecy. I'm more important than him. Yeah. I was trusted more than him by my father. And in that sense, she kind of comes out on top in a really wicked way, because that gives her resolve that she is the most important person in the realm, which you have to think that if you're going to be the queen.
Yeah, like you can have humility and have a sense of being humble, but ultimately you are the next thing closest to God, and you're already Valerian, so Targaryen. So because she says so much to her son, where like they say that like our line is somewhere between being human and being a god, and then being,
Are closer to
you know,
gods than humans. Yeah.
yeah, and then being on the Iron Throne makes you even that much closer. So it was interesting too, because like you were saying, yeah, she realizes that he doesn't know, which then makes you think Viserys never truly even considered the possibility that Daemon would ever have the throne.
Because
Like,
he assumed he was going to have sons.
yeah, but
Yeah.
even like as a way to just prepare him, like, hey, see,
Yeah.
I don't have sons, because especially by the time that Queen Emma dies,
Hmm.
they've tried several
Yeah.
times, and so you would think at that point someone as smart as Viserys, as kind of a logical peacekeeping person, would think, okay, plan for the worst. Hey, bro, in case this one doesn't take, so there's some stuff you need to know about being the heir to the throne. He didn't take it seriously. He was like, no, there's no way. There's no way. And I don't think that says anything about like how much or how little respect Viserys had for his brother. But I think that
He knew.
Daemon might perceive it that way because we see a moment of this when Rhaenys tells him that Viserys has died. He just assumes, oh, they killed him. They
Yeah.
slaughtered him. They slaughtered him to get the throne, when that's not what happened. But
But
he
he
perceives
assumed
all
that
this as a threat.
he assumed that though, like he was sniffing the drinks.
Right.
And I kind of liked it in the sense because like we say in the books, there's multiple different accounts. And
Right.
it makes and one of the accounts is Alicent did poison Viserys.
Sure.
So they're keeping that rumor alive because you have to have that rumor alive for it to then end up in the book.
Yeah.
People have to believe that that's the account, even though that's not what happened. Because how many times in history do the rumors actually be what is written in history than what actually happened?
I went to school in the Midwest, so but like you said, I think that kind of goes to both our points, because yeah, like this is how Damon's perceiving this. To
Yeah.
him, everyone's out to get him and his family. So any accounts of this that come from anyone on his side, as far as anyone's concerned, from what Damon has told them, the king was murdered by
Yeah.
Alice to put her son on the throne. So
And he's not wrong to think that because look at what Alicent and her father has been doing this whole time. So for
yeah,
him to be like, that's not far fetched for him to believe that.
especially with the timing of it all. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
We
granted,
just left and now he's king.
granted,
Yeah.
when he first said, "How did he die?" My immediate reaction was, "Did you not see him?" He was basically dead already. But yeah, it's the timing of it, of like, wait. We just got home and he's
Yeah.
dead and her son's already on the throne.
Yeah. Because
Oh,
it
this
takes 3 days
yeah.
on ship, 1 day on Dragonback from King's Landing to basically both Driftmark and also the I'm forgetting the name of it.
Dragonstone.
Dragonstone. There we go.
Yeah.
I was like,
You read the book.
I read the book and I'm like, it literally just, I had it in my head and it popped out. And it was just like,
Hey, did you know there's two brothers named Eric, but one's spelled with an A and one's spelled with an E?
and the British people pronounce it the exact same way. And then they're like, no, I said Eric. And I was like, that's
Actually,
what she's.
Rachel Cushing on Twitter put a brilliant way to remember which one's which. Eric with an A stayed with Aemond with an A.
Yeah.
I was like, or Aegon with an A. And I was
I mean,
like,
I knew that Eric with an E leaves,
right.
but yeah, because yeah, to
You read
me,
the
yeah,
book.
Eric and Arik. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I'm making sure to.
They need to do it like the Scotch Irish way. One is Eric and one is Eric. It's a little different.
I like Arik better.
Yeah.
It's more in that.
Arik just sounds cool. Eric sounds like that douche in Bandcamp, and Eric sounds like how somebody would mispronounce Eric. Speaking of which, that crown.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I was gonna say though, her getting the news, they're going in more. So Damon believes, oh, he's killed. But Rhaenyra, like, she's getting the news, hey, your father's dead, but then at the same time, that means you're queen too. But oh, by the way, your little brother was just crowned in front of a group of people by the seven. So like he has legitimacy basically to the low life of the town.
Hey, you know your brother that jerks off out windows? He's the king now.
Yeah. And just like in the book, she does go into early labor and she loses her child. She has stillbirth. And in the book, the baby's deformed and has like some dragon features, like a tail and some wings. And so like we don't really get that in the show, but that's something that kind of throughout the books, that a lot of times because of the incest and because of like you see the murals on the wall of like people and dragons all fucking each other, like kind of thing, that they have dragon blood in them. And so sometimes like they might have like a baby with scales or some dragon features to the child, and it never really they never end up lasting.
It was interesting because you know, we're gonna take a moment to talk about the scene, of course, because fuck the first episode. Like, this was hard to watch. There's only the thing with that too is like, there's really, even as far as this show pushes the envelope, like there's only so much we can actually show on screen, and they showed a lot. Like, I have a feeling that the editors and their FCC liaison went over this scene with there's probably like 8 different edits of that scene before they made it happy enough to go on the air. But even the child that is stillborn, from what little we see of it, does look a little deformed. But again, I think a lot of that was,
but it's also premature.
So it could be two sides of the same coin. But again, there's only so much they could actually show us. So
and the thing too, and I know some people had a lot of issues with the first episode and that childbirth scene. And some people, I haven't seen it yet, but I can see people having issues with this one. And I'm going to say the same thing I said for the first one. That happened to women, and that's currently happening to women today. And so it's hard to watch because life is hard to watch sometimes. And that's just real life. There are women who have miscarriages, who have stillbirths, who go through the agonizing birthing process and end up without a child. And that's what we're seeing on screen. And that's been happening for all of human history.
I think the reason people took a bit more issue with the first episode than this one is because, one, by this episode, they've set the bar for what the show is going to be. So they're, I hate to say the word expecting it, but it's like, well, yeah, this is kind of on par. 2, when the first episode aired, we hadn't had Game of Thrones in 3-4 years. So there was that return to the brutality. And also 3, I think the main reason there was more of an issue with the first one is because, again, I think there was a statement meant behind the moment or the timing of it just compared to real life is there. But because it was the removal of her loss of agency in the C-section as opposed to this, Rhaenyra is fully in control. Telling everyone to fuck off.
But again, too, her loss of agency is so real to today, and women's loss of agency after Roe versus Wade. And like, there's women who are having ectopic pregnancies that literally means they're going to die, and they can't, until they're almost at death's door, can they go in, the doctor go in, otherwise of fear of legally not being okay and having their practice taken away or having their license taken away. So like, in a sense, like, it's still happening today, and women are losing their agency today, and men are making decision for women's bodies. So to me, I didn't have an issue back in the first episode or this episode. And for the It is hard to watch.
Yeah.
But for the book too, Rhaenyra blames Alicent and the Greens for killing her daughter. It
Sure.
said, if I didn't get this news, I wouldn't have gone into birth. I wouldn't have lost my daughter. And she has sons and she loves her sons, but there's something different when having a daughter.
Mhm.
And this is her only daughter. And so that tied with what happens at the end, she loses 2 children this episode.
Yeah.
And that face she gave, we saw that face before on Daenerys. Some shit's gonna start happening.
It's a genetic defect. All Targaryens have it. It's the you fucked around, now you're gonna find out face.
Mm-hmm.
They're born knowing how to do it. It's like how a bird is born knowing how to fly. It especially because like here's something like on a positive note. Like I love this episode. Nothing about what I'm saying is negative, but like in terms of what was depicted on a positive note, I loved the scenes with Rhaenyra and her boys so much in this episode.
Yes.
She was like
so different from Alicent and her sons.
Yeah. And I am a mama's boy. I am the world's biggest mama's boy. Fight me. I loved the scene right in the beginning of her talking with
Luke.
Luke. They look identical. The one that dies. That's her, you know, because she's got the 2 little ones who, you know, they're babies, so we're not going to see them much in the show till they're older. But that's her little baby boy, and he's just so unsure of himself, and she's just being a good mom, and she's hugging her boy and giving him some kisses. And I also love the moment where he's like, "I'm not like you, I'm not perfect," and I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
I was a lady I work with who watched the episode last night, and she came in and was talking about it. And she was like, I had to go hug my son after that.
Yeah, it shows how different like of a house. Like look at Alicent with her kids and how cold she is. The only one she really shows any warmth to is her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And to Helena, where Rhaenyra truly loves her kids, and her kids grew up in a loving home, and even like her stepdaughters. And that means Daemon too is a loving father.
And we've seen elements of that when he was with Corliss's daughter. Help me.
Lena,
thank you. When he was with their daughters in that episode before she died, we see him just being a dad and helping teach his daughter High Valyrian and just sitting with her and studying with her and just, you know.
And the scene that was cut out is him. There's a scene that was cut out of him like hugging his daughters after their mom dies.
And even that, though, we see a little bit of what's left of it when he goes to tell them, and they're just sitting on that wall, and he's just like, "What do you do? Like, what do you tell your kids?" You know. And so here are these 2 radically broken families that come together to form a new one. And also, man, this is the second time Daemon has lost a kid in childbirth in this show.
At least he didn't lose his wife this time.
I'm sure there's a part of him that was thinking that too, but
yeah. And that was pretty much, you could tell that because I think they said that there was a script where he did go up when she calls him. She calls him, and they also say, want to get the maesters, and he walks out because he knows what happened last time and what happened to his brother with Aemma. He doesn't want to
face that again.
And he doesn't want to face that again, so he goes out to the beach.
He doesn't want to face it again. And also in his eyes, he's like, I have to be here because there's a threat coming, and I am going to do what I do best, because he is back to his old Kingsguard soldier and Driftmark instincts, which is like, now this
cutting people's penises off.
Yeah, just slicing dicks, cutting off heads. Like this is my bread and butter. And this time they are coming directly for my family. And also, I can't face that again.
And so I'm king of fuck around and find out. Like
again, the whole Targaryen line. That's their motto. Whatever it translates into in High Valyrian, it literally translates to fuck around and find out.
It's not fire and blood. It's
you can have 2 mottos. A family can have 2 mottos. It's
just like a Lannister always pays his debts. That's not the actual motto of the Lannisters, but that's what everyone knows them as. So,
but it also is.
Yeah.
then there's so many. I mean, we're already like half an hour in talking about this. I mean, there's so much to talk about in this episode. And I mentioned it earlier, the crown moment when
Mhm.
when Eric shows up with her father's crown,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
no, and he swears the oath to her,
Yeah.
which I love that oath so much because I think back to John and Sam taking the oath at the tree. This is him saying like, no, I'm here. This isn't just me saying, oh no, I'm totally on your side.
Yeah.
No, I am making a statement.
Like, I don't need a dragon to scare me into being on your side. Like, I am here for her. And Damon too, the last time he saw that crown, he was picking it off the ground and putting it on his brother's head. And now he's putting it on his wife/niece.
I don't think I mentioned this when we talked about that episode last week either. Like when he picks up the crown and puts it on Viserys's head, I damn near started crying because it's like that's your
And
brother.
that was all improv.
All improv. Anyway, but curiously, we don't see Rhaenys bend the knee.
No.
I wasn't
She's
sure if
waiting
anybody
for-
else would catch that. She's just like she is serving up some of the best looks. Those
I love
side eye.
it.
There's so many side eye moments in this
Because she's a
episode.
queen in her own right.
She should have been
And
queen this whole time.
she should have been queen this whole time. And in that, like, the succession would have probably not gone to Rhaenyra because it would have gone to her children and so on and so forth. But Rhaenys also is very traditional in the sense of like, I gotta talk with my husband first before I make decisions. Or even then, she gives an adequate answer because a lot of people were like, why didn't she say Dracarys last episode?
Love
And
that.
she was just like, it's not my war to start.
Yeah. Because I was one of those people where I was like, she could melt them all right now and we fix everything. Her lot, and I think the writers knew we're gonna have that complaint, and they nail it in the first couple minutes of this episode of like, no, this is why.
Because Matt Smith, Damon was like, you could have killed them all.
he was the audience in that moment.
Yeah.
And in that moment, Rhaenys was the writers of shut up, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Rhaenys too, we get Corlys is alive. Now, I'm assuming you already knew that was happening because you've read the book. For me, I thought he was dead. I was honestly surprised we were still talking about. I expected him to like die before the end of the episode. Like give in. So.
In the book, he does get a fever, but then he's perfectly fine before all of this stuff happens. So he's not still sick. And he's her most powerful ally.
Yeah.
And you see why like they're going, because like in the sense too, when they were like promises don't mean shit. Like just like, or people who like were faithful, or you think, or possibly like, oh, my mom's an Aaron, so they're gonna be with us, or the Starks are faithful, like, and always are loyal, so they're gonna be with us. It's like, no, like that doesn't mean shit until you get a yes from them. So at that moment, the most powerful person she has is Corlys.
Yeah. Ask the future Starks how the veil helps them out. Just saying. Mommy, I want to see him fly. Shut up. I hate that kid. Hate that kid so much.
But
yeah. Well, even with Corlys too, he's even like, I had to remind myself too, like, he's because somebody on Twitter was like, he had a fever for all that time. It's been a couple days.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that this has only been a couple days since the last episode. So it really wasn't
a couple days since like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. So it's not as long ago as you think. But and he does. I mean, he makes some great valid points where he's like, I don't trust her. She is in some way, shape, or form complicit in my son's death. But then again, this is why they are couple goals, because he's making sense, and then she makes a little bit more sense to help round him out. She's like, yeah, she did. However, she's the only one not losing her mind right now.
Yeah.
After everything she's been through, she is the only one holding it together.
Yeah, and not plunging everyone into war. And I love too, in the sense of like, he's like, my wife, you were right. I'm behind you 100%. And she's like, well, actually.
It's the gift of the magi. I sold my watch to get you combs. I sold my hair to get you a watch chain. Like,
yeah. And so
because he's like, let's just go retire and we'll just walk around naked every day and just live our lives on the beach. She's like, well,
love that, but we can't.
Since you've been out of it.
Yeah, there's some things you need to know. Now, just complete side note.
Yeah.
I love the freaking table of the map of Westeros.
Bro.
Oh my god, that looks so cool. And
that table should have had its own place in the credits, opening credits of the episode.
And what I love about it too is that the use of how that table is supposed to be used is lost to time. Because in Game of Thrones, no one ever puts the coals underneath to light up the table.
Right.
No one does that. The way you're supposed to use this table is lost to time.
That's right. They're always putting maps on top of it and tablecloths and stuff. Oh my God, you're right.
And so I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
In my meme that I post every week of the no context spoilers for the episode, I posted a picture of one of those LED resin river tables because that's what it reminded me of, and I want one of those very badly. If someone will make one for me, that'd be great. Yeah, no, the table deserves its own IMDb page. Like, that table had like some of the most character and personality out of anybody in this show, and I love this show.
Because like, you get the pan of it, of the table, and it looks just like it has in every other Game of Thrones episode that we've seen it. And then they put the fire underneath and light it up, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, in some mythological and fantasy stories, they say, oh, go light the beacons or go light the torches. In this show, it's light the table. You know shit has hit the fan when they're putting the coals in the table. This is Violet tying her hair in a ponytail in a series of fortunate events. Shit's about to get real because we're lighting up the table.
And in there, then we get the Greens show up. And in the books, Otto's not there. But in the show, he is.
You've got Reese's Bonds, you put him in there.
Right. And I love the parallels. Because last time we had Cyrax come out of the clouds and go. She, even though she doesn't like Otto, was on Otto's side going against Daemon, trying to get the egg of her dead brother.
Not anymore.
This time, she does the same thing, but she's on opposite sides. And I loved it. I loved it.
And once again, as we've seen many times in this season of this show, it is yet another use of our Targaryen using a dragon as a middle finger.
Right.
I never get tired of that. Was such a sup. Heard you've been talking some shit.
Right. And I love to, and you don't just get parallels of that scene from, I believe it was episode 2, but you also get parallels. She takes his hand of the kingpin and chucks it. And her father takes his hand of the kingpin off as well, although he gives it back later, but
he doesn't throw it out the window.
He doesn't throw it out the window, but you kind of have that. And in the books, the person who comes is the maester, like the black maester that you see in the show, and she strips him of his chains, like because basically she was just like, do you remember my father? Yes, I do. Goes, who did he name heir? He goes, he named you heir. He's like, then why are you supporting my brother? Like, and strips him of his chains and then gives it to her maester that we see there around the awesome table. So
I want that table.
So you still get that badass moment of someone getting stripped, but this time it's Otto getting stripped of his hand of the king.
But you know what? It's so much more satisfying with it being him. Like, if it's been the maester, I would have been like, oh shit. With him, I was like, oh shit. It's this episode. I think I wrote in my notes, I was like, they should have just named this episode Power Moves, because everyone's making power moves. And when she hops down off the dragon with the crown on her head to come talk to Otto, I was just like, strut that runway. Yeah, she is.
You better work, bitch.
Work it. Oh my God, Madonna's strike a pose was playing in the background. Like, wow.
Well, uh, Patty Considine is a fan of what was it, RuPaul's Drag
Yeah,
Race,
yeah.
and there was like a moment where he almost falls in like one of the episodes, and he like spins around and he goes, "I'm giving Targaryen realness," like,
Yes.
and then RuPaul was just like, yeah, like tweeted out like something like, "You better work, bitch," or something like
If you haven't
that.
seen the clip, it's on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
Please go watch it. It's fantastic.
Gotta give you gotta serve that Targaryen realness. But
Yes.
I also just want to talk about Allison kept that page. That's the gayest thing I've ever seen. She
It
was
is.
so in love with Rhaenyra. And just imagine, let's just imagine our head go into a fantasy world here,
Yeah.
out of this fantasy world. If she would have ended up with Rhaenyra,
Mm-hmm.
none of
Bro.
this shit would have happened. Instead of like
Yeah.
Rhaenyra's father, if she would have, because like, yo, they were in love.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
it's implied heavily in the first
Yeah.
few episodes that like they are something more than friends, but you
Yeah.
can't quite pinpoint what it is. There is
Yeah.
love there, but to what extent? And
Yeah.
we see obviously the divide that grows between them over the years, regardless. But like, yeah, that was such a moment of like, because even Otto says like she wanted to remind you that you once loved each other, and I don't think he's thinking to the extent that it really truly
Yeah.
means. He thinks it's that friendly sisterly love. It's like, no, Alice, they
Mhm.
were at least Allison was straight up
Yeah.
in love with Rhaenyra.
Right. And even like Rhaenyra too, she was just like, I want to leave it all on the dragon. Like you and I, let's leave it all and eat cakes all day. And she's like, oh, you
Oh
jest. And she's like, I never jest about cakes. Like
yeah.
I was
Oh,
like a
nor
woman
should
after my
you.
own heart. Like, but and so yeah, you're just like, they loved each other, and it was more than sisterly love. It was that friendship, like, will they, won't they kind of thing. They obviously didn't, but like I was just like, man, Allison has never had an orgasm in her life. She probably would have had
Poor
one
thing.
with Rhaenyra,
That
and
poor
then
thing.
she
She had
probably
many.
wouldn't be as like evil as she is.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Um, and then we get to what I love too is in the previous episode, the Greens are playing everything by emotion.
Hmm.
Everything is being played from their hearts. Everything in this episode is out of logic.
Yeah, very
Rhaenyra
calculated.
is the smartest person in the realm in this episode. She is like, no, 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 no. Because even Corliss is like, why aren't you like? And she's like, I'm not making moves until I know
Hmm.
who's actually on my side. And I think that's the moment where he goes, oh yeah, no, we're with this chick.
Yeah.
Because he's when he walks into that room, he's still feeling things out. Like, okay, like if I side with you, how much of a chance do I really have? Because he keeps that having the stepping stones to himself until he
Hmm.
knows. He's like, I'm not giving this information up to just anybody. Like
Right.
I'm until I know where it's going to be. And when she says, "No, I'm not sending people to die for me or to fight for me if I don't know what they like." No, I'm
What my garrison numbers are.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when the moment where he just kind of goes, "Okay, yeah, no, I'm with you too. This is smart. I like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have the best chance of not dying with you right now."
Right.
Because,
And also too, she's like, I'm not making the first blow. Which she did.
exactly. Yeah.
Which I mean, the Greens have already made like 5 blows already to the blacks, and she's still
Yeah.
like keeping her cool. So like,
Yeah. She's still like, no, until they legitimately draw first blood.
which they kind of did, but still.
It kind of did, yeah. But which
Important blood.
but well, because and then her boys are again, you can tell these are children who not only come from a loving home, but a home that still puts a lot of emphasis on teaching
And
because
duty.
their sons are like, no, 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 mom, send us. If you just send a raven, it's going to take forever, and they can ignore it, say it never got to them, or whatever. Send us on dragons.
Yeah.
That'll deliver. That'll drive the message home. And she's just kind of like, fuck, I raised some smart kids. Yes.
Yeah. And two, in this also like happens in the book, except for it's like on a 7-pointed star instead of like, the equivalent of their Bible.
Yeah.
But she does make her boys swear.
Yeah.
And pretty much, I think she doesn't say warrior. I think she says knight, but it's pretty much the same
Same
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Like that she tells them, like, you were there, like as an envoy, you were going to send a message. You were not to fight anyone. I need you to swear. If you don't swear, you're not going.
Because she knows, especially her oldest, Jace, can be a little impulsive.
Yeah.
Because we see some of that when they're sparring on the beach. He's a little hot-headed. But I think some of that comes with just being the oldest and some of the shit he's had to put up with,
And
with
he's a Targaryen and a strong combined. Like, look at who his parents are.
Yeah. So, but again, like I mentioned earlier, we get this just a wonderfully, heartbreakingly sweet moment with her and Luke, where because he is saying yes to
She
this
gives him
plan.
she gives him the simpler task.
Yes, the one where she's like, he is doing this because his brother's doing it and because he knows it's going to help me. He does not want to do this. I am going to do what I am perceiving to be the shortest flight. It's a guy who's most likely probably he's not going to need as much convincing. We just need to go make him happy and he should be
He's
good
related to us.
Yeah, like we should be fine. You'll be home in time for pudding. It's fine. And she gives him that hug. She holds his hand. And again, and the music is swelling. And all I can think in the back of my head was one or both of these boys is going to die.
And as a book reader, I'm like, don't go. Because I knew the whole time I knew what was going to happen. And I was like, don't do it. And the thing too is, again, the book gives different accounts. And he dies in almost all of the accounts. And then there's one where he like basically does what Eleanor did in the show.
And just leaves.
And just leaves. And I was just like, let him survive. But then I'm like, no, he would never do that. He would never leave his mom like that. So that's not going to happen. This boy's dying.
And because we spend so much time with him and not Jace, I was like, Luke's a goner. Luke's either like there's just or he's going to get taken hostage. Again, I haven't read the book, so he goes to visit the Baratheons. Boris, and this is the first episode where we've really started to like really acknowledge the parts of the realm that we are familiar with, because we've spent a lot of this season in the other parts of the realm that either aren't around in Game of Thrones or were mentioned, but we didn't have a lot of it. Now is where they're like, no, like we're gonna need to go to Winterfell and go to these places where we've known before, so it's a little more familiar. And he lands his dragon in a nice spot. And I was like, it's great that they have this big old dragon-sized courtyard there. That's fantastic. Why the fuck is the giant one in the background? Son of a bitch.
No, and then the way he pops up too, I was like, ooh. I was like,
so creepy.
So close to Halloween.
The last like 15 minutes of this episode are a straight horror movie.
Yeah.
Straight horror movie. Oh my God. And he goes, and Baratheon's basically just kind of like, I didn't make this promise.
My father.
Well, first he says, where's the maester? I can't read.
Which was hilarious.
He gets the note. Thank you.
Well, he's like, what's the message? He expects it to be spoken. It's like, no, I got.
And he looks at it like I do, like a football. Like, what do I do with this?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, you were supposed. Thank you. And he just breathed. He's like, no, this is my father's promise.
Yeah.
And I'm not a dog to be beckoned when you need something. Like,
yeah, and when it was like, hey pup, like that line pulled straight from the book.
Oh, was it? Oh, it's such a fuck you. Yeah. It's such a fuck you. He's like, no. I don't know who you are. I don't recognize your mom's authority. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
Please leave my house.
And in the book, you really see him more from Aemon's perspective, kind of in a sense. So like he shows up first before him, and like so he's talking to Boris, and he's like all this, and like agrees to marry one of his daughters, and he's like, take the pick of the litter, like, and then so he's he actually like kisses each daughter to be like, which one do I like the best? Like, so we don't see
somebody.
like, and then like the other one of the daughters like, oh, I'm so glad you picked my sister, not me, because of like the eye like thing. So like they're making fun of him for his eye, and the person who his eye out was Lucerys, and then who shows up? Lucerys. So like
Yeah.
these women are making fun of him for
Mhm.
not having an eye,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so that kind of starts to play in why he's so like, oh, I need my vengeance, is because these women were making fun of him.
Yeah, because he had originally said, "No, I don't need his eye. I got a dragon. I'm
Yeah.
good." But now he's like, "No, it's not enough anymore. This
Yeah.
guy has I'm not down with this anymore." And and then we get the Mad Eye Moody moment.
Yeah.
I literally was like, "Oh, he's Mad Eye Moody now. Now he's a combination of Sephiroth and Mad Eye Moody." Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Every
And
time
he
he
has
walks
this
on, go ahead.
I was like, and he has that sapphire in his eye. And in the book, it says that he like wears the eye patch so that way he doesn't scare the ladies in King's Landing.
Oh, sure. How's that going for you, buddy? Every time he walks on screen, I can hear One Winged Angel playing in the background. It's or One Eyed Angel. Heyo. Anyway, as soon as he starts wanting to throw down with Luke, I was like, this is not going to end well. And I thought he was going to kill him. They were going to fight there, and he's going to kill him. The thought never even crossed my mind.
There was going to be dragons.
Fight. But with Baratheon straight up says, he's like, not here. Kill him somewhere else. Not here. And frankly, you're marrying my daughter now. What I say goes. So not here.
And also, too, it's Boris Baratheon's place. Yeah. And as an envoy, like they very much are don't kill the messenger. That's one of their rules. Also, kinslaying is one of the rules. You see how much they follow rules in Westeros. But
cough.
So Boris is like, yeah, this is not happening under my roof because I will be implicated for him dying here. So he's like, nope, not gonna happen. Lead him to his dragon, let him go. And in the book, it's more kind of written in the sense that he goes after him and kills him. And it's like, and then he goes back home and boasts about it, kind of thing.
Right.
I like the change in the show because we had Viserys in the first episode saying to us thinking that we are in control of these dragons is stupid. And these dragons are so attached emotionally to their riders. So Luke is feeling scared. So the dragon is protecting him. So the dragon spits out fire, even though Luke doesn't say Dracarys, Luke is telling him not to. And Aemond is not wanting to kill. It doesn't seem that he wants to kill Luke in that. He just kind of wants to scare him a bit and be like, kind of be like, my dragon's bigger than your dragon moment. But he also is very angry with Luke, and his dragon can feel that because they are attached. And it's just like, I got you, boo. I'll get rid of him for you. And you get that. Oof, brutal. Oof.
Because Aemon has always been a bully. Always been a bully
because he's been bullied, and that's what happens to bullies. To people who've been bullied, they kind of end up becoming bullies.
I was also there was something because I went back and watched this scene twice because there was something I wasn't sure of and I wanted to make sure I was getting it right before I brought this up. In those moments when Luke is speaking to his dragon, it's always in High Valyrian. It's always in the language of the dragon.
Yeah.
When Aemond is speaking to his dragon, it's always in the common tongue. He only speaks to High Valyrian when he's taunting Luke.
Yeah.
To me, and I might be reading too much into this, but to me, it felt like Luke's got this respect and this almost like he's trying to form a kinship with his dragon because he's like calming him down when there's a storm. He's like, hey, listen to me. It's cool. And he's encouraging him in his own tongue that'll be familiar with to get away and stay alive. Whereas Aemon, it's all like, no, I control you. You listen to me. And I think that speaks a lot to the inner character of
Mhm.
these two people, because for Luke, he considers it a privilege
And
to
part
have,
of his heritage too.
yeah, but he considers it a privilege to have this dragon, whereas Aemon has always been, no, I deserve this dragon.
Yeah. And that's kind of always been Aemon in the books, because he was offered dragon eggs from, like, oh, like, we'll give one of Serax's dragon eggs to him for, so kind of like, oh, I'd have a baby dragon kind of thing. And he was just like, fuck that. I want the strongest, biggest fucking dragon out there. Like,
I want
he's
the chunky boy.
I want the chunky boy. Chunky girl, actually.
Chunky girl.
She's a girl. She's a girl.
Yeah.
That girl thick.
Like,
But so, and that was him in the books, like, no. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And it kind of in the sense too, because he was bullied by his brother and also like his nephews for not having a dragon. And so he was just like, I'm gonna get the biggest fucking badass dragon out there. And to him, that's just the way it is. And then also you can kind of like, I like your theory here, because think about like his father, pretty comatose through his growing up, doesn't give a fuck about him and his other siblings that are born by Alicent. Alicent doesn't know shit about dragons. And you look at like Luke's like basically parents here, like his stepdad and his mother are both dragon riders, both speak High Valyrian, both have like, you have Daemon like studying about Valeria when he was in Pentos, like, or Essos, wherever he was in that area.
Yeah.
But that's the books he was reading. He was reading about his people. And so they're kind of more connected to their true Targaryen roots than the Greens are. Even though they got black hair and the Greens don't.
Yeah. I actually have a really cool, there's a really great moment in the dragon chase I wanted to show everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. That's from How to Train Your Dragon. Excuse me.
Did I send you that? Like,
no, I found that on Twitter. I thought that was
I saw that on Twitter and I was like, this is freaking hilarious. Because also too, like, I love all the stuff with like Shrek and House of the Dragon, and be like, oh, Shrek did it first.
Shrek did it first. Shrek had the sexy lady red dragon first. I'm just
yeah.
And then that kill is rough. I mean, it's one of those. It's like, like you think, like, is he okay? Like, no, he is like very dead,
ripped apart.
like he was probably accidentally eaten, and his dragon was decapitated.
Yeah.
But and it's important. I'm glad the sound design was so good, because they made sure you could hear Aemon shouting, no, obey me, no. And they hold on that look on his face for just the right amount of time to let you know he done goofed, and he knows he done goofed.
And in this moment, he realized that he
done
fucked up.
You can pinpoint the exact moment his heart rips in half.
Just imagine too, he has to go home to his mother and tell her what he just did.
Oops, did I just accidentally a war? Oops. Like, he's got to go home and tell Alicent and Otto Hightower, hey guys, they're going to come kill us.
Like, and Rhaenyra hasn't given her answer yet. Think about that too. That happened because she's like, I'll tell you tomorrow what my answer is. It's not tomorrow yet when she sends her boys out.
She was still very much considering their offer. She was like, it really truly might be the best thing, because she learned a lot from her father about trying to maintain the peace.
That
out the window.
And think about it too. She's compared so much to Damon. Like you and I are the same.
Yeah.
And the second she becomes queen, she's like her father. She's not like Damon. But you kill her baby boy, she's gonna be like Damon.
And I think Damon recognized. I think Damon was starting to recognize that too. Like,
Because you saw
don't be your father. Don't be your father.
And you saw too. Damon kind of told her he kind of like the way he was walking up to her, it looked like, I don't want to be the one who tells her this.
I thought the same thing too. It's like there were so many different. She didn't even see his face, but just the way he's carrying himself, you can tell that he's doesn't want to tell his wife that her, by all accounts, her favorite son is dead. The one that she sent on was supposed to be the safe mission. Dead, so she's gonna feel guilty. She got the temper. I don't want to face that temper. Also,
I lost my stepson.
I lost my own. I just lost I lost a daughter yesterday in childbirth, and I just lost a stepson. And because by all accounts, he liked Luke too, because he was kind of like a little fed up with Jace throughout parts of that. Yeah, but also just that whole, I have to go deliver the hardest news you would ever have to
the woman I love.
To the woman I love. It's hard to tell anybody that they are that they are outliving another child. This is my wife. Like, and again, all of that is conveyed in just the way he walks. Which again is why I say this is both Emma Darcy's and Matt Smith's best episodes of this season, because God damn, the acting in this is superb.
Yeah, and the music and the way he walks, you don't see his face, and I'm like, oh no. Like you feel the tension there.
With just the right amount of slow-mo. Just the right amount of slow-mo, enough for it to be felt. And we end and we see her turn, and she faces the fire, and she does that slight stumble. Which is almost reminiscent of the beginning when she was told Viserys was killed. This is another child of hers in 24 hours that has died because of all this bullshit. And then she turns and looks at the camera and looks into all of our souls simultaneously and says, "Scorched earth, motherfuckers." Yeah.
And kind of as a woman who's had to like deal with shit and be like, I can't cry right now, I gotta go to work, or like I gotta go do shit, like to basically be like, I will save my breakdown for later. I need to be a boss ass bitch right now.
The moment that camera cut away, I wish I could see the rest of the meeting she had with her council, because she turned around and said, hey guys, everything we've been planning, no, let's go fuck some shit up.
Yeah,
I'm done. Done. It's on.
I love where they ended. That's gonna make season 2 episode 1 so great. I thought originally I thought originally it was gonna go a little bit past and we were gonna get her response, because her response and what happens to a certain character on the green side who is not problematic, you're gonna feel some type of way.
All I know is the first episode of next season is going to be insane.
To book readers, blood and cheese.
I know you and Vander both keep saying blood and cheese. I had no idea what it means. Like a good boy, I have not Googled it, as you guys keep telling
I told you not to. I was like, don't Google it.
All this, he texted me at like 6 this morning because he knows I go to work early, and he's like, did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet? And I was like, I just finished it. Holy shit, it was good. I'm creating diamonds in my butt right now. And he was like, I thought we were gonna do blood and cheese. Don't Google it. But next season they're definitely doing blood and cheese again. Don't Google it.
And then I was like, blood and cheese, don't look it up. I said the same thing.
I don't know why I would ever accidentally look up blood and cheese. you're gonna need the safe search off for that one, kids. That's the episode in a nutshell. I think we should, as a way of kind of wrapping this thing up, we've been talking for about an hour now. Overall thoughts on this first season, Soul, as someone who's read the books, or the book, how did overall this season of television, how did it handle itself just as a show and as an adaptation of this book?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It may be one of my favorite seasons of television this year so far. And we got The Boys earlier this year, which was great.
I know, right? And I thought there's nothing that can compete with season 3 of The Boys. There's nothing. I was wrong.
And I've said this like almost every episode, every change that they've made, I've liked it for the better. Mm. And the book is really more a history book, and you're really getting more into the reasonings why characters are doing things. And another thing that like someone pointed out that I was just like, yeah, no, this makes complete sense to me. The book is written by men. And so therefore the women are not going to have as much agency, are not going to be given as much character development in the book, because it's written by maesters and like a jester named Mushroom and like all this thing. So they're going to give the account more, they're going to, like history does, give more information about the men. Like when we said with the Damon's first wife, we were like, oh, we got way more of her in the show than we ever got of her in the book. And you were like, oh, okay. Like,
damn.
Yeah, so like Alicent is a lot more evil in the book. She's doing it completely for power. It's no, her and Rhaenyra are not friends. It's very much of a, like, she's on board with her father on making Aegon king, all this, no second thoughts, no nothing. And Rhaenyra is kind of like this vengeful person too. Like, and so we're getting more into the way people actually act in real life, and like the way that like the love there. I love that they made them friends. I love that the between allegiances, and let's not dive into war and all this stuff. And like, of course, they're gonna make it the women's fault. If men are writing it, they're gonna make it the women's fault, right? So I like the changes, and it just seems more real. Like, oh yeah, the book is written by maesters, and it's probably going to be the book that the people in Game of Thrones are going to be reading in their history books, and it's going to come across like it does in Fire and Blood, when no, this is what actually happened.
Yeah, this is the true story, not this is the unabridged story.
Yeah.
I did not think, because like this year has been kind of hit or miss from movies with me, October in particular, but this has been a great year of TV for me. And like after like The Boys, I was so sure, I was like, oh man, making my top 3, top 5 favorite shows of the year is going to be easy, because like I think The Boys is probably going to be number 1. And then The Sandman came out, and then the Orville New Horizons came out, and then we had this, and we had Harley Quinn, and like there's a bunch I haven't even caught up on yet. I'm still finishing Stranger Things season 4. I'm halfway through. Good stuff so far. What a year for TV and streaming series, because I didn't think I would connect with the show as well as I did some of these others, but man, because I was always a casual Game of Thrones fan. Like I liked it, but I wasn't like, I'm not like you or Vander, who were like reading the books, and like I don't remember anybody's names. I just don't. But
you remember Dragonstone?
I remember Dragonstone. Yay. But but even though I can't remember like the names, just because they're weird and they're hard, and there's a lot of them, the production aspect of this show, this is one of the most well-made shows I've seen all year, and the caliber of talent on screen is palpable. As someone who didn't read the books, I feel like I am living in this world. And I think not having read the books, I'm enjoying the unpredictability of it, because I really truly don't know what's coming next. And I think, but I also think that if you have read the books like you have, there's still so much to enjoy seeing these stories come to life, and also seeing the little changes, like you said, that they are making that are working for the show. So yeah, this show is doing everything for me, and I am like physically angry that I have to wait 2 years for more. Like rude, like just that is disrespectful.
Hey, how many times have we said take your time to make things good?
Oh no. I absolutely want it. This is just me saying this is the heroin addict, side of
The
things.
fix.
I need it now, especially as we're coming up on the end of the year and we're running out of shows. Like Andor is more than half the way over. I still don't know if I'm getting a season 4 of the Orville. It's like I am running out of shows to look forward to right now.
The Crown season 5, come on.
I still haven't touched the Crown. So it's there's so much to watch, guy. I just hit Stranger Things this year. So but this show, I mean, if there is one thing I can say about this show, is just, I mean, easily one of the best shows of the year, top 2 for me. It's probably between this and The Sandman for me. But
give Patty an Emmy.
Just take all the Emmys, put them in a truck, back the truck up to his front lawn, and dump them on his front lawn, and then melt them all down into one giant Emmy that he can just take, that he can just have everywhere to show off everybody. Because good God, the guys on Previewed said after last week's episode, like, I think somebody needs to tell the writers of this show there's not enough Emmys for everybody on here. What a year. I think
my question for you, Mike, as a non-book reader, what is your prediction for season 2? What's gonna happen?
I think that what's gonna happen is we're gonna cut immediately to Viserys in a bacta tank, and he's gonna be having mind link with Anakin. I'm kidding. I really don't know, because they were so like, because the time jumps, like they have made, like, are we gonna see a time jump? Are we gonna pick up right where we left off? It's kind of hard to imagine we would, because it's 2 years. Those kids are gonna age. Those kids have already started to get older. So picking up right where we left off.
We're going to Winterfell. They've already told us that.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, unless, I don't know if they've started production already on season 2. Maybe they have. I don't know if they're Lord of the Ringsing this and just shooting everything back to back. But I don't know where they're at with the production schedule. But I did not mean to do that. I hit my space. I'm not editing that out either. I'm leaving that in. I don't know. I really don't know. It's almost, as someone who didn't read the books, it's almost impossible for me to predict, because everything I've predicted thus far has been wrong.
But I want to hear your wrong predictions. Where does your wrong brain go right now?
My wrong brain, my very much incorrect and uneducated brain, says that Corlys and Rhaenys flip on Rhaenyra and Daemon, and that at some point in the show we're going to watch Rhaenyra and Daemon fight each other on Dragonback, because I think he's going to overstep. Don't say a word. Just let that hang there in the ether. Please go in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. I'm not going to read them, but it's great for our engagement. It's fine. By the way, this hasn't happened to us yet, but I've been seeing it happen on a lot of other channels. If you get any comment or replies from a channel that looks like ours about something on Telegraph, that's not us. That's a scam. Don't touch it. Hasn't happened on our videos yet. I've seen it happen on other channels. Not us. Don't.
We're not big enough yet.
No, we're not big enough for the hackers to hit yet. But if you see that on any channel, just don't do it. Like, seriously. There's a guy who's had identity theft 4 times in his life. Don't do it. It's not fun.
Now, for me, non-spoiler stuff, some things I'm excited. I'm excited to see who they cast as Lady Jane Eyre. Okay. Hopefully we'll get that soon, because that is one of the stops on the way to Winterfell for Jace, which we were told that we are going to Winterfell. Yeah, at the Vale. Which we were told we were going to Winterfell by the show creators. So, like, that's not a spoiler.
No. Well, they say it in the episode. You're going to Winterfell. Okay, mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that even I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a part in the book where they literally take a little bit to like be like, these are all the dragons that we have. Here are all the dragons the Greens have. We have way more dragons. A lot of them don't have owners. One of those dragons is Sea Smoke. But in the show,
we haven't seen since like episode 3.
Laenor is alive. Sea Smoke is currently on Driftmark. I think they even said that in the show.
Right.
I might be that
I haven't seen him.
Yeah. And he's dead in the books. So someone else can claim Sea Smoke. But he's alive in the show. Which means someone can't claim Sea Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's gonna come back or not.
He's gonna pull in the final episode. It's gonna look like everything's down and out, and Luke is gonna be. Oh wait, no, Luke's dead. Never mind. I was gonna make a Han Solo saving Luke joke, but Luke's already dead. So would have been great if he showed up today and saved him. You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing. Yeah, but it would be cool if he still pulled like a Han Solo moment and you know, threw a wrench into things.
Yeah,
interesting.
So that's something that, as a book reader, he's dead. He's dead.
He's out of play. He's totally out of play.
He's out of play, but in the show, he's not out of play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. Going by Yu-Gi-Oh rules in the book, he was removed from play. In the show, he's just in the graveyard. Oh yeah, I made a Yu-Gi-Oh reference on the channel, kids.
I mean, that's what happened basically between these two dragons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, this was a blue eyes fighting a red eyes. I'm gonna keep thinking Yu-Gi-Oh.
I mean, if they would have had an Exodia, maybe Luke would have survived.
Okay. Anyway, if this is where we've reached, yeah.
Are we nerds? I'm
oh
sure.
My God, no. What? No, I don't still have 3 of my decks still in a box sitting in my bedroom. No. I'm that guy. Love the show. Loved this finale. What a finale. This is a finale people are going to be talking about for the next 2 years easily. I can't wait to see what's next. I really can't. And I unfortunately have to. I don't have a choice in the matter. So
you can read the books.
I could. With what free time, Saul? With what free time?
I mean, I don't have free time either, and I still manage to read.
That's nice. You're not touring around doing stand-ups. Guys, this show's so much fun, and I'm looking forward to finding another show to fill in the void. This is going to create here soon, because we are running out of shows to watch and review. We got some new ones. We got some ideas coming. We are going to do a watch along of Tales of the Jedi, which drops in a couple days from when we're recording this review. We are also going to we're Soul and Bogz are talking about doing some soccer football stuff. We'll football. It's at this point, it's a lot of it comes down to just schedules permitting going into the holidays, especially. So,
World Cup, baby.
Yeah. So we got lots of stuff planned. So keep an eye out for all of that. And in the meantime, thank you guys for tuning in. We'd love to hear your thoughts about all the things you liked and didn't like, and all of my wrong predictions down in the comments, please. And Soul can read them. I won't read them because spoilers. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back again next time with another episode of Off the Wall.